I'm a lot closer to a devil than a saint, but I'm just gonna make one little correction to the theme song for Money Matters. It's the love of money is the root of all evil, not money itself. Okay, and the guru can tell you all about that. Dr. Terrance Martin. What's up?
Good. Happy Father's Day. Jamster.
Happy Father's Day.
I got to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. I know it went yesterday, but belated nonetheless. We deserve to be celebrated, and
True.
I hope all the fathers that are listening, I hope that you had a great day. I realized the restaurants weren't as packed as I'm assuming they were on Mother's Day, but we're thankful for those establishments
that's a good one.
prioritized and celebrated fathers. We thank them for that.
We get short shrift as usual, right?
Which is kind of segueing into today's topic, right? Looking at the mental health as it relates to men specifically. So, I'll just jump right in. And just want to wish all the listeners a fantastic Monday. Welcome to another edition of Money Matters here at WINNFM. And today's topic, we're focused on financial wellness and men's mental health, finding the balance. Now, June, which I'm sure majority of people do not know, is Men's Mental Health Month, and it could be because maybe you're following the British system here, but at least in the US and some other parts of the world, June is celebrated as Men's Mental Health Month. And it's a time dedicated to raising awareness about the unique mental health challenges that men face. Now, this month is about breaking the stigma around men talking openly about their mental health, encouraging them to seek help when needed. And it's a crucial conversation, and today we are going to focus on how financial stress can impact men's mental health. Now, financial stress is a major issue that affects many of us, but studies have shown that men often experience and handle financial stress differently than women. Now, according to a survey by the APA, 72% of adults do report feeling some form of financial stress. But for men, this stress can be compounded by societal expectations to be the primary breadwinner and provider. Now, moreover, financial stresses like job loss, high levels of debt, family financial responsibilities, are some of the common challenges that men face. Now, statistics would show that men are less likely to seek help for both financial and mental health problems. Now, and this is often due to a stigma, again, associated with appearing vulnerable or weak. Now, this reluctance can exacerbate the stress, leading to more severe mental health issues. And recognizing these symptoms of financial stress is the first steps towards addressing the problem. And today we have a fantastic guest lined up to share his expert insights on this topic. And our guest will discuss practical tips for managing financial. We'll share that responsibility and mental health techniques that could and the available resources locally that maybe he could point us to deal with some of these challenges. And of course, we want to hear from you. So if you want to, you feel free to call in and share your experience or ask a question during the show. Now, as we wrap up this introduction, I want to remind you that it's okay to seek help and talk about your struggles. Men's Mental Health Month is a reminder that you're not alone and that support is available. So stay tuned and let's dive deep into this essential conversation here on Money Matters, proudly sponsored by First Federal Credit Union. So Jamster, I guess we'll have a word from our sponsors. And we're back. first, let me introduce you to our guest for today, Mr. Reynolds Samuel. I know him as Sam. He was introduced to me as Sam.
Yeah.
So I thought Sam was his first name until I was like, hey, what to put on the flyer, Reynolds Samuel? I was like, okay. All right, so Sam, can you tell us a bit about your background and expertise in this area of mental health, etc.?
All right, thank you. Firstly, I want to say that the introduction you gave for the topic, it was fantastic. I almost got up and left. I felt like,
there was nothing else.
Yeah, I felt like he just prompted me with everything right there, right? I was looking at my phone. I was like, what else can I say? No, thank you for having me. Before I even say anything about myself, I really appreciate the context of mental health awareness, especially with regards to men. And I think that I've been in St. Kitts, roughly, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, I must plug Trinidad and Tobago. And I've been in St. Kitts for roughly a year and a half. And I feel that this has been the place I've had most conversations about mental health in general, and men's mental health. I went to a few symposiums that they had here, spoke at one, etc. And I was like, this is a constant topic. And I think for persons that just the general public, people of St. Kitts would really, really, truly appreciate the fact that you all are having constant conversation about mental health, especially how it showed itself coming out of COVID and the importance of it. With my background, I kind of consider myself the jack of many trades. I wouldn't say master of any. But I started in NGO work in Trinidad and Tobago maybe in my early 20s. So I have like 20 years in. Community work as well. I worked with at-risk youth individuals. I also did some fellowships in the U.S.
Nice.
Yeah, so I worked in Peace First Boston for a bit. So my focus has always been community work, youth, and mental health, and obviously understanding how the whole diaspora kind of connects to men in general. Now I do academic counseling and counseling, also working with one of the providers down here. And again, just any realm or opportunity to speak about mental health, with regards to men especially, I'm always willing and happy to be able to do it.
I am personally happy to have you because, we don't see, at least I'm aware of a lot of male counselors or psychologists in general.
Yeah, in general.
Right? So I'm much less here locally. So, when I was looking and I asked for referrals, and by the way, this is Sam's second appearance, and I'm going to call him Sam.
Yeah. Sam is okay. I prefer.
This is his second appearance on Money Matters. He was on the men's panel back in November last year, right? And
okay.
Yeah. So instead of doing another, I really want to do another men's panel, but instead of doing that, I wanted us to focus really on this topic and dive a little bit deeper. Now, you said you've gone to a lot of forums, at least locally, surrounding mental health. What do you really think is the cause? What's driving that? What are they saying? What kind of themes are coming out?
A lot of persons are speaking, generally, I believe, coming out of COVID, a lot of persons got time to spend with themselves. And because of that introspection, a lot of persons realize that everything isn't as good as they believe it is. And I believe that's what's driving the initial conversation, that persons are saying to themselves now, I am not okay. And even now in the male context, you're getting more men actually opening up and saying, I am not okay. And even in conversations with women, and I think that came out of the last symposium that I went to, a lot of women were saying that, we are hearing the men around us actually letting us know in arguments, they're no longer staying quiet, which works and doesn't work, right? Because, there's the view of men who express themselves. But they are saying that men are now expressing, saying that, I'm stressed. This is not working. I'm barely holding on. And we're starting to realize now that in the cultural context, men are now shifting, so they are willing and open to say that they're really not okay. And it will be remiss of us not to pay attention to the fact that it is being spoken about. Men are finally taking off the bravado and willing to say in an open forum, I'm really not okay.
But, my experience has been, at least with some males that I've interacted with, and even when, posting status on WhatsApp and their feedback is, they're speaking more, but they're still not being listened to.
Yeah.
Right? So what's the point in talking? At one point, they're going to stop talking, it's interesting that you mentioned COVID. Because one of the biggest things that COVID did, it took away our incomes. Yeah. And for a lot of people who labor income, wage income, salaries, etc., that went away. And then the realities of reality hit that, how do I pay these bills? Because the bills didn't stop because COVID came. We didn't stop eating because COVID came. And yes, there was supposed to be price relief, but we all know how things go there. So at the center of some of that, I'm wondering, how much is it, at least for the male's perspective, is financial stress that main driving factor of not being okay? Mind you, that might not be the main reason,
of
but it
course.
definitely compounds it that. No, I'm still seen as the provider. I'm still seen as the expectations that you have to do. Even COVID, when nothing was happening, they were still looking at, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to feed us? How are you going to take care of us? So, and how do you think that might have contributed to some now, like saying, hey, I need some help,
Yeah, I think greatly, because what you're saying, the word you used, expectations, that's the big word there. Because the expectations did not change. Regardless of how the scenario changed, regardless of the household changed, even though persons knew COVID equaled a hard time for many persons, the expectations of men didn't change. And men not being able to live up to that expectation is one of the major aspects pushing a lot of guys over the edge. The thing about it is, you sometimes as a man feel like the only thing that make you put your foot down is being able to support persons financially. If you aren't able to have a good conversation, you know, be a strong guy to say that, you know, you have that physical presence, but the ability to put your money where your mouth is a big thing for men. So when you realize there may be other aspects not working for you, you know, just generally, and then boom, you're able to support your family, or in your multiple lifestyles, etc. I'm just saying, right? You know, it's real.
We
right?
understand. We understand.
Yeah, it's your multiple lifestyles. It does, especially if some persons around you or within your core group, if they are making it work, and you're the individual that's not. So it's not only at home you're getting it, because when you talk to your friends, they can make it happen and you're not. So there are so many different factors just throwing that dollar sign in your face that makes a person realize or be impacted by that financial expectation.
You know, and this is not to say that women don't go through these same financial struggles, because I know a lot of women that are doing it and making it work with little help from the men that should be stepping up. So this conversation doesn't take away from that reality. But we also want to, at least I wanted to, when I came up with the idea of the show, is to just put a little spotlight, 'cause, you know, no one really pays attention to us, right? You Chris Rock said it, like, it's women, children, and dogs that get better treatment than men. And that's a reality that I think if we were to survey 10 men randomly on 4th Street one day, they will all agree. At least a minimum of 9, I think, will agree. And we have to pay attention to that reality. So, you know, financial stress significantly impact mental health, leading to anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. And, you know, studies have shown that these financial problems are the major source of stress, and this stress can affect people's lives. Are we creating that stress ourselves? And here's a question, here's something. So I'm an academic. I work in a university setting. And I think in a class of 25, I might have 3 male students, right? I've done recruiting for institutions in St. Kitts as well to go off to higher education, tertiary. And just this Friday, we had a session at CFB. We had a really good turnout, 96% women. And the organizer, you know, Dr. Randy Glean, one of my mentors, he did a session in Antigua, Nevis, Anguilla, and he said in his other experiences, I think he's in Dominica today, saying you're hardly getting maybe 2, 3, 4 guys showing up at sessions. So is some of this financial stress, yes, societal expectation, I guess, let me just ask a question. Why aren't men going to school? Why aren't men going into either to advance on the technical vocational side or the 4-year institutional side? Why is it significantly reduced relative to women, but yet still have that societal expectation of being the breadwinner?
Now, that's a complex question, because often I look at it from the aspect of stigma. Because there is stigma attached. And when I say stigma, let me say stereotyping. So persons view some men, dependent on the culture, if the culture is very macho, they view academics as something very soft, you know, and also dependent on the constraints placed against you, you also view...
I experienced that.
Yeah, you also view... I could say for myself, you said most persons in the counseling realm, right? When I went to school, literally there were only 3 or 4 persons into social work, psychology when I went to school, and throughout school, that's the case, right? I worked in the government in Trinidad and Tobago in the social development office. Mostly women.
Mostly women.
Yeah, women, right? So there are a lot of fields that are saturated by women because of how it looks. You know, for a man to be
Like
in that
nursing.
type. Yeah, for
but
instance.
I also think there's a weird tension between what you said. You said some men see academics as soft, but there's also this weird tension where you have guys. We have this stigma in the culture about agriculture and certain other things where people don't want to be in the sun. Yeah, yeah. So there's that weird tension. So I mean, that seems contradictory.
You think
How do you explain that?
Because also it remember it's a one aspect of it's just one aspect, right? So there are the aspects of persons who view it as you know, within that realm. There also are persons who view that type of money as long-term money, and right now they need to live for the now, right? So okay, I want to purchase a house or purchase a car. The amount of time I have to take to get established, to get the job, to maybe get doctor by my name, like Dr. Martin, right? To get that, to live the type of life I'm seeing that is also expected of me and that is all around me. Some persons realize, okay, if I have to sell agriculture, how much would I have to sell in order to live that type of life? So there's the glass ceiling above a lot of persons where they believe that to get here, I need to do this, but they really could only reach that far in their mind. So a lot of persons, there are different tangents, right? So a lot of persons look at it in different ways. Some person feels like these are the type of jobs that only women go into, like education is for persons who are nerds, you know, things like that. And then there's some person like, you know how long I have to wait? I've worked in community, in some of the worst communities in Trinidad and Tobago. Let me not say worst, at risk. And you hear the students on the individuals on the block, on the street say, yeah, but so I had to go to school for 5 years and do a master's for 3 years. By the time I old, what I doing with my money when I old? You know? So they want to go towards what they can get now, which leads to a different type of financial strain and stress, trying to get that money now.
Instant gratification, right? But so how much is it that society grooms men? You have to be a provider. When you're done with school, you have to go find a job, take care of your family. It's almost indoctrinated. I remember when I was thinking about going to college, right, one of the things that came out of those conversations was, why you don't get a loan to help finish this house? Huh? Right. So now, if I had the personal wherewithal, I think I just wanted to leave. Right. So that's why I was like, I'm going to go. Right. No anchors here. But most people, they might not have that ability to just leave. Right. So if society around us, our community, our institutions, the people around us are saying, hey, you know, you're done with high school now, you got to go to job. Okay, well, at least let me go CFB. Okay, well, once you go CFB, but no, you have to go get that job. And then once you start making that money, stop and not make money it's very hard.
It's very hard. Especially if you don't have the support behind you to say, okay, you can put down employment for 2 years and put some focus into your education. You can put down for 3 years, go get your master's, go get your degree. A lot of persons aren't having that conversation. It really is a upper middle class conversation that usually happens, and you know that's just a small segment of the entire society, right?
Yeah.
So when the upper lower middle class is the one that's pushing the children to the tertiary education, and then obviously the upper class is doing it as well, the persons who are in the lower middle towards the lower class, they are just trying to get their children into employment as soon as possible, and they make up the bulk of society. So that's why you will see a lot of frustrated individuals because they're hustling, right? You come out to school and you go and work there, and whatever you could get, you get, and you have to contribute to the house, and you have to ensure that this is done. And you want a little girl at the side, right? Because you have to take care of her, and she has expectations as well. Because me and you together, all your money home. What about me? You know, you're building a home with me. So when you realize the small paycheck starts to split, the frustrations come, and then it leads you into numerous different realms that you don't want to go into.
But then you also see this phenomenon where there are a lot of jobs where, I mean, take for example, you go to the supermarket and you see the people who pack the shelves. A lot of the time, it's actually women. You have more so than guys, and then over the years, I've asked questions. I said, well, you could do. They say, no, well, it doesn't pay enough money. Even guys who might have the inclination to teach, they're like, no, it's not paying any money. So I wouldn't mind teaching,
and
but
that's what's happening.
Whereas the women will
go towards it.
Yeah, women will do what they got to do, right? But I'm wondering, like, okay, Sam. So given that, right, we so just some quick detail.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about education, the gender disparity in college and university enrollment. You see women increasingly outnumbering men, and the trend mirrors global patterns. Now,
Yeah.
so I went and tried to find some research on St. and Nevis, and I'm sorry, we can never find no proper data on St. and Nevis. Everything is imputed, so God knows if it's real,
Real, yeah.
right? But what we found is, at least what I found here in St. and Nevis, there's a significant gender disparity in college and university enrollment, right? I think there's some data coming out of UE that indicates that back in just pre-COVID 2017, 2018, there about 78% of enrollees were female. Right, so now compared to maybe somewhere between, what's the difference? 25%
Yeah.
female. Now Nevis also had again more dominant figures, almost 3-1 in those cases. Now this is consistent across various pathways to learning, including continuing education, professional education, undergraduate
Yeah.
education, graduate degree education. It reflects regional patterns as well, right, that we have. So if we were to address these kind of disparities, what kind of interventions that can we have? Because we're not doing what we need to do as men to make more money, but we want to assert the power of head of household that needs money to assert the power of head of household, right?
What could be done? The thing about it is we got to break the view that honest money is slow money.
There you go.
Honest money is money that's going to take your
That's literally what Jam said.
Yeah, we got to
right?
and we got to break the concept of it, because you and I would say that even though we went to school, etc., we would honestly say that we have to understand, to get to the point where you may want to live comfortably, a lot of work had to be put in.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's
You
why I
know?
tell people I charge them for what I know, not what I do. don't.
Yeah, don't get it twisted, right?
Exactly.
Because it's a difference, right? But it is the view that honest, hardworking money takes long. You take long to get there. And a lot of persons are seeing things as fleeting, understanding. I could give it from a male concept. When I was younger, I always tell persons that when the things I wanted, guys who are older than me will come and be able to afford it, get it. And then the girls will go to them. The attention would go to them, right?
Yeah.
So then when we get older, we get now the attention that we weren't getting, right? And then the younger fellas will be seeing the same thing, right? I need that. Look how long I have to take to get to that level, right? We have to let persons know that there are tiers that you need to go forward in, and be comfortable with the fact that even though it takes time, you are building yourself to a place where you get to the point where you can just charge someone for what you know, and no longer what they think is the job description, etc. But we have to break that idea and let persons understand that, hey, that you are moving towards something, and the steps you take, it may seem like it's 4 years and 5 years, but in the long run, the life that you live is one that is better, etc.
There's a quote, but when we take the commercial break, I'll have to listen to it because it has some vulgarity in it that I need to be able to censor. But, I think what I'm getting from you, though, Sam, is mentorship.
Yeah.
Right? And I could tell you, I've had more women ask me to be their mentor than men. I've had more women come to me and say, "Hey, Terrance, I want to learn to invest," than men.
Yeah.
So even if you think slow, some money is slow money, that reference that you made, even when there are avenues to make your money work for you, I only could count one man, maybe two, that have come to me for some sort of financial advice in that regard. Like, how do I make what I do have? It's not a lot, but how can I grow what I do have? So, there's something else happening for me here because, largely, there's no retirement here. Yeah. If you're not working in hospitality or for government and for one of the 3 or 4 businesses that offer a plan, literally, your latter half of life, there's no financial income when you stop working, right? So like mentorship programs, career counseling programs, which I'm assuming they have in the schools, but...
I was just about to say that that's something that you usually have when you have guidance officers, guidance counselors. They're supposed to set you on a career path by the time, but then often how many persons actually go to the sessions that the guidance officers or counselors set up? A lot of students don't do it. I've recently been alerted to a number of persons in even openly dropping out of school. And their parents...
Like high school?
Yeah. And their parents okay with it. Well, if she doesn't want to go to school, she doesn't want to go to school. If he doesn't want to go to school, well, he doesn't want to go to school, And I'm like, that's never supposed to be, something that is openly allowed, right?
Yeah.
Because again, the guidance counselor, I don't know if you'll say counselor officer, but the guidance individual is trying to meet with them, unable to meet with the dad is not attending, but the child is home, etc., etc. So there are so many different levels of the breakdown. So you do have a list of lovely things there, like the career guidance, ensuring that there are mentorship programs.
You think you think it's that instant gratification drive that's part of that's going on there partly?
I think it's also because a lot of persons have many negative examples in front of them. So I've seen my good friend who've went to school and did the whole school thing and didn't make it. So sometimes I tell my child, if you could get out now and make some money, get out and make some money.
Yeah.
And it's just because that's what they see. So we don't have a lot of, again,
I
like
get
Dr. Martins out there, like people like them who they can see the example of it working.
Yeah.
There are a lot of examples, as life has, that of things that aren't working.
But you know what it is too, Sam, Jamster? Like, when it gets hard, the notion, when you look towards your support system for encouragement to keep going, they tell you, well, just stop and go find something else.
Yeah.
Look, this person, go on the construction site, go learn a trade, right? And because it got hard, and I'm talking from personal experience. Yeah. I graduated my master's during the financial crisis in 2008. All around me, I remember I was interviewing for jobs, but I was turning down jobs. That's not enough money. And then one day I woke up, the world went to crap, right? And then I turned to what should be a support system, and they're like, well, come home.
Yeah.
What? To do what?
Yeah.
If the financial crisis is in America, it's definitely here because I worked in hospitality before I left, and so said, so done. We had a significant drop in tourism arrivals, etc. Right, and then that just exacerbates the issue. So it's almost like even when you seek help, we're not seeking help from the right channel. Yeah. So how do we make counseling more attractive to men, in your opinion?
Well, I think the Mental Health Association of St. Kitts is doing a wonderful job. I know every situation I've been to, and also the National Counseling Center, they were in some of the symposiums I went to as well. So they are very visible. I think, not to speak before I should, but I think that maybe it's on the cards, but I think that a national campaign should be something that should be out there, one that actually puts focus on mental health awareness, mental health awareness as it affects each individual of the family. Because it has to be something that is in our faces. When we can't turn away from it, we decide to walk towards it. That's how things are set up. If you realize this is a decision now I have to make, then you make it. If you realize that everywhere you turn, counseling is the discussion, financial literacy discussion, you're going to say, you know what? The positive peer pressure of persons doing it going to make you do it as well. But it's got to be something that is seen as often. I wish mental health awareness in Trinidad and Tobago was as visible as I've seen it in St. Kitts.
We should be proud of ourselves.
I think so. I say it openly everywhere I go. I'm like, I appreciate the fact that everywhere, and it's been before the Mental Health Awareness Month and even before men's mental health. I've been seeing it, right? So it's a good start. But I do think from a community level, there are some persons who don't listen to these type of programs, who aren't privileged enough to go to a
This
symposium.
isn't politics and drama, bro. So But I'm surprised. I was at Rituals the other day, and a young man came up to me. I remember him from high school, and he was like, man, I listen to the show all the time. And I was like, okay, cool, thanks, because you never know who you're engaging. Right?
Wow, yeah.
And I know there's a very popular architect. He said, man, I'm logged in. Jam, you guys have been doing the show a year?
Yeah.
It's been a year. Yeah, it's been
crazy.
a year. Let me ask you this, though, right? And financial stress, and the word financial throws people off.
I want you to plug in this too, because I was just about to ask me. I'm sure.
Go ahead.
All things being equal, which gender tends to save more in a judicious way?
Men when they're single.
Really?
Single men.
Really?
Single
More
men
than women?
save. You hear what I said? You hear what the objective is?
Okay.
Single men save more money, right, than single women. Single men. But the minute a man engages in any sort of activity relative to a woman, that savings is depleted significantly. And this isn't even shade. This is just no. And it really goes back to something that Sam just said, and something that you also said. The reason why, part of the reason why going to work, and like you said, when you're younger, you're an intro girl, and you couldn't afford to do certain things. Now on social media, you're seeing this more boldly asking and saying, like from women, that this is what I want.
Yeah.
If you can't reach to this level,
That's yeah.
right, then I don't want you. Don't come. You remember that viral video? Oh, you're taking me to the Cheesecake Factory?
Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
I've been to the Cheesecake Factory. A slice of cheesecake is $30 EC. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Not taking it there.
Right?
Yeah,
So like, there's almost like, no, a culture where they're saying when a man do what he can do within reason because he wants to secure, to your point, he wants to save, secure himself, it's wrong. Just give me all your money, right? Just do what you can. You'll figure it out.
It's almost a thought doesn't count anymore.
Right.
You know, whereas I mean, like for me, I mean, I mean, I love a woman where if I go out and I say, oh, let's just go have some coffee, or let's just go, or he'll know they get this reference. Let's just go down by Miss Concy on 4th Street and get a half with chop ham.
I do not. I'm very young, Jamster.
You don't
do
know
not get that reference.
but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
And,
Fox. I know Fox.
Yeah, okay, Fox. I should have used Fox. I should have
Okay,
used
I know
Fox. Yeah,
Fox.
actually, I couldn't think of. I should have thought of Fox. But yeah, let's go by Fox and get a couple, 2 halves with saltfish and you know, like
man, let's
like
go Arcade Bay, bro.
a Buster. Or
Let's
something.
go Arcade Bay.
I recently heard about. I was going to say I
$250.
recently heard about Orchid Bay. I heard
That's
the prices.
somebody's 2-week salary.
Yeah.
It's the experience.
It's
It's
the
it's
experience,
not about how much you spend.
It's the
And
same
some
view
people-
from literally right next to the property. It's the same view, same sunset, right? The same pasta, like you know.
Yeah.
So look, what are some of the most common financial? No, let's do this. We talked about that. What are some signs that someone may be suffering with financial stress? A man might be suffering from financial stress, and I think the word financial throws off people here. That maybe it looks a certain different way.
Yeah.
But it's just the cause, right?
Yeah.
But what? So I guess we could even ask the question: what are some signs that someone is experiencing stress? What impact the stress has on a person's mentally, physically, etc.?
Well, the first thing we got to pay attention to is understanding that there is good stress. So a lot of persons, when we hear stress, we immediately consider it to be negative.
Okay.
Stress is hinged on the duration. What turns stress from eustress, which is EU stress, what changes from eustress to distress is the length of time. Because we need eustress to be motivated to do anything. If you don't feel motivated to go to work, you wouldn't go to work. You wouldn't try your best, right? So just the stress of meeting deadlines, etc., those things work for you, that's okay. When persons get into the length of time that they're stressed out, so if someone is having money problems and we realize, okay, it has been going on for a while, we see changes in their behavior. We see them being more fidgety. We see them not getting the type of rest, feeling very snappy. Now, again, it has to be for duration, right? Because we want, and that's why I said duration, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to separate it from mood. Because sometimes today is just not the best
Just not
day.
a good day. Yeah.
But if you realize that someone around you is having that experience for a lengthy time, you know, the conversation, they're more reserved. So there's a switch in behavior where there would be someone who's normally outspoken. You realize they're very reserved. You realize that now they make openly speak about the money, that the money concerns. They openly talk about it. They talk about, I'm not doing this. They talk about, yeah, but that costs so much. You realize that, okay, they may be now putting some focus on their money, and maybe it's because they want to save more, but it is that they are under some stress with regards to the situation. Sometimes we also see it in upkeep, right? If someone usually carries themselves in a certain way, you know, they dress a certain way, you know, they act a certain way, and you realize, okay, that has diminished.
Okay.
You know, general hygiene.
So you can see that physical
Yeah,
signs.
physical, yeah.
Yeah.
And we know, we have friends. I always tell someone, if you see me fed up, even know when I'm fed up of a job, my dress code goes.
Yeah.
From the time you see my dress code going, you just say, Sam, you're looking to leave that work. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm not really feeling it, right?
Yeah.
You know, so you see changes in their demeanor, you see changes in their dress, you see changes in their relationship, you know, how snappy they get, you know, they start to now throw words, you know, like, so why don't you spend? Where's your money going? You know that they are feeling some type of pressure with regards to the financial situation. And again, as you said, it's literally just a stressor, right? It's just the thing that is stressing them at that moment. So we got to be able to identify what is this, why is this person not the person I know? And why haven't they been the person I know for such a long time? Once the time is extended, then you know something is really happening and you need to come in.
Do you think, for example, like we could turn around the whole education enrollment issues that we observe if men were given grace. For example, let's say parents came and said, hey, I have you, just go.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want anything from you, just go. Or if you're in a relationship and you say, man, I'm not making enough money now, I have to retool, especially with AI coming out. There are a lot of businesses, traditional fields that have to retool, from law to accounting, etc., finance included. Right? So what if the partner just says, hey, boyfriend, husband, I got you.
Yeah.
Go and just, do what you have to do, and then come back and you could step back into that space.
That would be lovely. That's in a perfect world. In a perfect
likelihood of it happening.
No, I think it's not as prevalent as we would like it to be. I think families were more of a unit previously.
Yeah.
I think it was. Definitely. I think now we are into a selfish period of lifestyle with everyone. We see it on social media, right? And we also are grown or molded by our parents to be selfish as well. I was thinking about your numbers about female versus male enrollment in school. And I know from the last show, I know you have a daughter. And I'm like, the conversations we have with our daughters, I have a niece, right? So that's like my daughter. The conversations that we have with our daughters are much different from the conversations that we have with our sons. We do tell our daughters or female, no, go out there and get your education. Go out there and push yourself. Don't let a man cut style on you. Make sure that you have.
That's why they tell her all the time.
Yeah. Make sure you have. But as fathers, as men in their life, we are also telling them, make sure that man treat you right. Make sure that man put your money where your mouth is, right? So the fella's growing up with the mindset that I have to come and bring the best to this woman. This woman is also thinking, I am my father, my mother, my parents, everyone around me is pushing me to have my best life. And I'm also expected to receive a best life.
So we're missing part of the conversation then. Like also, we're missing part of that conversation, right? From the female perspective. Like you also, what are you also going to bring to him? What are you also going to contribute in that kind of way, right?
Well, you know, that's
are we missing part of that?
It's I don't want to lose any of my female friends. I am very good, and maybe they are listening, maybe they're not. I hope not. But it's something that people are saying. But I think it's just the skewed aspect of society, and some aspects of society are skewed like that, where we do put a heavier burden on one set of individuals, and we do put heavy expectations, but we do also train others to be able to receive as much as possible and as best as possible. And as I said, we train our girls to be your best, do your best, but still expect the best. And we train our men to make sure that you can always provide the best and do your best. But there isn't a group of persons pushing men to also secure the best you want for yourself.
You know what was really important to me growing up? I'm not sure if they're that prevalent now, Scouts. Like I remember it was in the Cub Scouts, you had that male camaraderie and that bonding. But, to a point that you made earlier, and then I want to transition to a very difficult topic. But I didn't grow up like watching sports heavily like that. Not that I didn't have an interest. I think I just had limited in what channels I had access to, right? Back in the day, right? So when NBA on TNT, I ain't on a TNT to watch the sports. I ain't on the conversation, right? I don't have BT. I used to Google. Can't remember if Google was. I think it was MSN search, like looking for lyrics for songs to be relevant. So for me, it was education was easier, right? That we tended to go into. But I also remember, and I was in first form, and this is my first experience with this topic. I remember a Friday, I had a classmate, and everybody was like, hey, have a good weekend, go back, see you on Monday. And there was a classmate, his name was Harold, and he didn't show up on Monday. Harold had committed suicide. And throughout my life here, I've seen so many high rates. When let's hear about suicide, I know there was, it's mostly men.
Yeah.
I was in grade 6, and I met a young man in Virtuals, had dreadlocks, was a music artist. I met him on a basketball court one day. It was one of those days, and I saw him as like a mentor, Masood Siddiqui, right? Suicide. Yeah. And, we always could have conjecture as to why. A child, Harold, I don't know. But a lot of grown men that commit suicide, what do you think is the cause? In most cases, it's the family dynamic but it's their inability to provide in the way that we have. The Purge series. Anybody watch Purge?
Yeah.
Who had most? Not Purge. What's the one where people give up themselves to get killed, so they could support their family?
Oh, I know.
It's not Purge.
It's not Purge.
One of those young adult
There
series
was a movie. There was a movie recently,
Yeah.
a series where there was people going around offering themselves up, in order so that their family could have a better life.
Yeah, I saw it.
And it was mostly men.
Yeah.
It's not that squid thing.
No. It was more. Well, even on the Squid Games thing, it was mostly men, right? That went out and tried to do that. So it's disproportionately suicide. Disproportionately affects men.
Yeah.
Right? And it's true in the Caribbean. There's some, for instance, in Jamaica, the suicide rate for males notably higher than females. Data from the World Bank highlights Latin America and the Caribbean have varying suicide rates, with some countries reporting 6.2 per 100,000 people. Our men are struggling in silence. So as much as we're talking now, how can we get them to talk more? How can they cope? So that is not the answer, especially if it's a financial problem. What can a partner do to ensure that they're not taking that on? In fact, in America, there's a now in life insurance policies a suicide clause. That policy has to be enforced for 3 years minimum, right? Because what was happening is that men were taking out life insurance policies and then committing suicide. Because that's the way I'll tell you, I used to live on the U.S.-Mexican border, and every time I crossed into Mexico, I would tell and it was risky because there were a lot of cartel activity at the time, but America could be a lot, right? So I went across the border for some tequila and tacos. And I would always tell my daughter's mom, look, if anything happens, I'm good. Naya's going to be fine. Right? So what can be done? Because our men are hurting, man.
Yeah, they are.
Right?
They are.
Even mental health.
Yeah.
The men that are said to be not in their right mind, crazy, whatever, homeless, it's men.
It's men, yeah. It's men. And the problem is that is the non-judgmental support space is necessary. Yeah. And it shouldn't exist or be expected to exist outside of the household. It should not be like, well, he has his friends, he should be good. Yeah, he does line with them fellas and them, they do their thing and whatever. It should start in the household. Yeah. It should be so prevalent around the individual that he has a space everywhere he goes.
Yes.
Because let's say his friend space is not open. Persons aren't hanging out this Friday. Persons aren't going to Dreams tonight, right? Let's say you don't have that outlet today.
Yeah.
What do you do if you can't have it home? Because everyone else has a life. I have a good friend, I always tell him when we speak, I always like, do you have room? Because sometimes he may not have room to listen to what's going on with me, and vice versa. So I have established something between us. I'm like, you have room today? If he doesn't have room, I'm like, no problem. I understand he may not have room. But I need to know other spaces where I can find room.
Yes.
And what happens is that we want it to exist in one area. A lot of persons believe that they don't have to listen, but they want. Right, so you have expectations of the individual, but you're not creating the space for the individual to be the type of individual you can get from.
Yeah,
I can't get from you if you're not creating a space.
How can I pour
thrive.
into you if there's nothing left?
It doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's from an entire context, right? Even in providing counseling services, even in making sure that it's on TV, it's on radio, to show persons that you don't have one space. There are many spaces out there open for you whenever you need it.
I had up a WhatsApp status as I thought about this topic and it being Mental Health Month and all that. And this one young woman responded, and her thing is, well, why do men not talk to each other? And I'm like, so you're saying you ain't gonna talk to your man.
Exactly right.
You're not gonna provide the environment for him to come to you and you all to have a shared conversation and be a partner, right? And your solution and response is, well, y'all don't just talk to each other. It was so dismissive. And I don't think, she didn't mean any harm.
No.
She meant zero harm. She was like, well, just talk to each other. Because, and it goes back to your point just now, the reason why we sometimes can't talk to each other is because as the man, we're taking on everybody else's BS.
Exactly.
We're taking it on from our partners, female.
Yeah.
We're taking it on from in that capacity, and they expect us every day they call. We have to listen. We have to listen. We have to download it. But what happens to what we have?
And what even happens now then is that when men get together, they do everything but talk about the problems. So even though you are spending time with your friends, he has problems, you have problems, we just don't want to just deal with it. So we talk about everything else. So at the end of the day, even though we got an avenue to be relaxed, to vent a bit, we don't get it out. We just get out of the space and then we just go back into the space. Because think about the last time you and a friend had a proper conversation about what was happening. More often than not, you just have a relaxing conversation just to get to de-stress. But the topics aren't ever dealt with. They aren't ever brought up. You're not brought to the point where you can literally break down and say, this is what I'm going through. Like, I can't provide for my family, like money, stress. You know, this has to happen with the house. I want to do this course as well. And I'm not seeing my way. Like, how many times a person's having those conversations? They aren't. So even though you say talk to your friends, because men are so also cognizant of what's going on with other men, we don't talk. We just get out there.
I agree, you know, because at that point they value the distressing more than, you know, having that type of conversation that's going to be even more stressful, right, in a sense. And then there's always the whole concept of being vulnerability, you know, the fear of shame, etc. I want to make a connection that I think a lot of people miss. Okay, men graduate, go to work, you realize you can't really work, you get stressed. Where am I going to get money? Or you're not earning as much, right? Because until recently, the minimum wage was not $400 a week. That's 1,600 EC, right? A month, right? It's just recently changed. So before that, it was probably maybe somebody was getting $250 to pack the shelves in Rams, right? And those types of places, $1,000. Right? No, I was told I have to go work, I have to contribute to the household, I have siblings, I have young people I have to give back to. So then what do? When you can't find it, when you need it and you don't have it, where you go to get it? From somebody else. Crime. Crime. You know, and you know, I grew up in an area not too far from here, the Newtown area, and a lot of guys I know went down that road. Right? And if you were to engage them and you ask them, those that got out, man, by the time I didn't have a choice. You know, I know this young man that went to jail because he had a kid and he had a child and he robbed some business because he couldn't afford Pampers. And it was his job to get the Pampers. You understand what I mean? So like, there's this interconnectivity, and for me, it's almost saying you can't afford not to. Our government, our society, our institutions, we can't afford to let our men fall through the cracks because of financial stress. And on top of that, in most relationships, even non-relationships, there's the concept of financial abuse of men, right? But so before we get into that last aspect, how is it people don't see the connection to this and crime? It's not the only reason. Some people just bad. Some people just criminal. But there's some people that they feel so desperate that they do not have a choice.
The thing is, persons are so happy operating in their silo because when they take on someone else's problem, they believe that it highlights the inadequacies of my department. You know, so someone would say it's obvious that if you want to ensure that persons don't go towards crime, you should create social programs. You should have, as you say, mentorship programs. You should have on-the-job training. You should have opportunities that give persons the chance for employment, or at least the chance for training for employment, because obviously more persons employed, more money in the household, better trained persons make more money. Hence the strain of having to create a crime, etc., will start to dwindle. I mean, obviously, as you said, it's not going to disappear, but you're going to get the persons who are committing crimes of necessity to be able to pull back. Because now they are making the money to be able to achieve their minimal needs. Right? Minimal basic needs.
We need a livable wage, not a minimum
That's
wage.
it. It has to be a livable wage. And it has to be a multi-dimensional approach. It has to be that the social services department is working with finance, is working with the police, is working with I guess, some of the employment agencies or companies that are here. Big, like sometimes having just an employment fair. You get Rams to come out, you get some of the banks to come out, you get Flow to come out, you get different persons to come out, and you have a fair, a recruitment fair, and see what persons have. And you could even create a database. Okay, these are the type of, the level, you know, as you said, data, right? We know the level of employment in this area. at Newtown area. We same person that would have just done high school. What can we do? It means that if we have high school level persons, we can implement a few courses, a few programs that they could get into to get them to that next level.
Exactly.
But you see, again, it has to be a multi-department, dimensional,
public,
government
private,
business. Yeah, everything.
public,
and
private,
buy-in
community,
and get
NGOs,
the buy-in.
etc. Yeah.
Because it works better for because now, as I said, now it's hard season, right? Cruise ships have started to dwindle.
Yeah.
Things are going to go. Like I noticed it last year. I'm noticing it this year. You're going to get the rise in crime now because the hustle money has been cut
brother,
off.
I drove around the island this weekend and I was like, the ears feel broke.
Yeah.
The ear.
Yeah.
There's nobody on the road. No one was driving. The streets were empty. You know, you're going to an area like Old Road, people always on the road banging drinks, joking.
More context, was it the Sunday?
It was a Saturday.
Yeah, but the Saturdays,
usually
it's
quite
kind of laid
cool.
back.
Oh, really?
you know.
Okay.
All right.
I
Especially in the countryside, I would say. You know,
Jamster, you're saying you're sensing abundance in the place?
I'm not saying that. I'm just.
Okay. I just sure.
No, because I had to explain weekly, because when the Trinidad and Tobago football team was here, I knew some of the guys when the guys went to Curiosity with me as well. So I saw them on the strip, and I was like, boy, fellas, I have to apologize.
Even the strip dead?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I said I had to apologize. I said because the island looking, I said my island looking a little off. And
This was a Friday night?
This was when Trinidad played the game. That was Saturday night. It was Saturday night, and the strip was dead on a Saturday night. And I had to explain to them, yes, we say, where the nightlife? They said, the people tell me the strip is... I said, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know I was wondering if people were saving money for music festival.
Maybe.
I was just trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Like, but even at that point
Somebody
in time,
did
in the month,
mention that to me.
that point in time in the month, you expect the strip to have some activity, right? So
And it was a Friday.
it was a Friday night.
Saturday
Saturday night. It was Saturday night on the strip.
But I've experienced the Friday night thing. I remember Zanzibar.
Yeah,
it used to be
a
like
dance.
packing,
Yeah.
man, and now there's nobody in
Nobody in there.
right? And now you made the decision that it could be so that people are saving for music
The
fest,
festival.
etc.
Yeah. But still, again, because of the fact that it is island life and a lot of persons use the bars to de-stress.
Yes.
You still get a certain amount, at least in my experience. I know Saturday night I could come out and still see a few
But that's alarming because I know I have friends. There's a bar over there I play at from time to time, and I know she talks about how it's very quiet during the week, and I've heard other people. But now you're telling me a Friday night is
Saturday night.
Also quiet.
It's
yeah.
But you know what? I've
That's-
also
that's-
noticed that a lot of people setting up bars anywhere on this
Yeah.
random patch of grass.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Their friends and core group go there,
Go
or
there.
they put some drinks in the back of their car, and
And they
so
go and sit
because
there.
they're finding ways to minimize spending because the premiums at the bars, etc.
Et cetera.
Look, we got about 5 minutes, Sam, and I want you to what are some. Look, some men, they won't go seek help. But if they're listening, what are some things they could do for themselves to sort of, deal with some of this financial stress, find some balance, right?
Yeah.
That they could initiate now that might not need them to go to somebody, at least until they're comfortable in going to
Go to
somebody. So
someone.
some like coping mechanisms,
Mechanisms.
techniques, etc.
What I tell persons from the onset is give yourself some grace. A lot of times we are the last person to give ourselves grace. Understand that you don't have to make that leap into financial stardom. Understand that it is going to take time. You are going to creep before you walk. And if you do make financial mistakes, if you aren't making the type of money you have, that there is time for you to make adjustments. Have a plan first and foremost. And within having a plan, it also means that the plan has to be smart. It must be specific. It must be measurable,
Yes.
attainable,
Yeah.
realistic. Time.
Yes,
You got to set it
Yes,
down, right?
Sam.
You got to put it down in
Your
such a way.
goals have to be smart.
You have to be set in a specific, measurable,
Yes.
attainable, realistic, and timely
Time-
fashion.
yes.
You can't achieve a big, nice SUV if you don't have the resources now. And you should be okay with the fact that you have a plan set out to work towards it.
Yeah.
As I said when I was here last time, ensuring that you have the right support group around you, understanding that you don't have persons who their main idea of wealth is showing that they have more than you, but they are willing to help you work towards. They are able to pull you up when they see you making mistakes like, hey, look like you've been on the road 3 times for the week. Next week, please God, you're going to not have enough resources, and I'm going to hear you having a conversation about things not working out.
Right.
Give the road a little rest. when you stick.
And say no when she asks.
I was gonna say
right?
when they get to your significant other, let her
Sometimes
know.
say no.
Today I can't make that.
Yeah.
Like this week we can't go VIP music festival.
Yeah.
I can only
And significant
general.
other, do not ridicule if he says no, and if he can't, find some ways. Okay, man, like I got you this time.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
If he does 9 times out of 10, what's wrong with doing
We're
one?
number 10. And that's it.
Right.
Even support. So if we can't do music festival VIP, say, well, okay, I'll put the balance. Because
Yeah.
I know you're working towards something.
Yes.
Having a good support group with regards to that and a good partner is important. Understanding what are your stressors and identifying when you know that you're getting to the place where you're not comfortable. When you realize, okay, you're not getting to that place, you see some of these signs that you are falling off, you need to pull yourself back.
Yeah.
You know?
So some personal responsibility.
Yes, of course, because we have to understand that a discomfort comes. And if you feel the discomfort, you have to start to make a change.
Pick your hard.
Yep.
If you're struggling, pick your hard. If you got to sacrifice for a couple of years so you could elevate, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But if you stay in the same situation, you're beating your head against the wall, nothing's changing. It's also hard.
Yeah.
Pick your hard.
And
if they don't stay with you when you're going through that hard time, move on. It's okay. That wasn't your person. You're gonna find your person on that journey. Because there's a saying that men lose a lot of money chasing women. I know this. I've lost a lot of money chasing women. But there was when it shifted, you don't lose women chasing money. You do not lose women, fellas. You do not lose women chasing money.
You do not.
But you lose money chasing women. All right. So I want to thank you, Sam. I want to thank you for coming on and us having that conversation. Jam says about to wave me off and say we got 2 minutes left. I know the deal, and Socrates is probably right here already, right? So I just want to thank you, Sam, for this conversation and that we had. Now, listeners, throughout the show, we explored the intricate link between financial stress and mental health and discussed some common financial stresses, learned about some strategies, some self-responsibility to manage these challenges. Now, our guests shared invaluable insights in a very down-to-earth way. And we heard powerful just experiences in general. Now, remember that financial stress is a significant issue, but it's one that can be managed with the right tools and support, whether it's creating a budget, seeking financial advice, practicing mindfulness, or reaching out to professional mental health support like Sam and the mental health group that we have here, right?
Yep.
If you are someone you know is struggling with financial stress or mental health issues, don't hesitate to reach out for help. There are numerous resources available here on the island. We heard it from a man in it himself that basically said, hey, compared to even Trinidad, we're doing some great things in St. Kitts. So stay tuned for Voices with Socrates. And I want to thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm Dr. Terrance Martin. Remember, it takes financial knowledge to know that you're making financial mistakes. And guys, again, you lose money chasing women, but you don't lose women chasing money. Have a great Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Enjoy the rest.